Shalom, shalom.
Shalom. Hey, shalom, shalom.
And
How you want
before we
to
get
walk? Salam.
Khan, got the brother Yawam here with me. And before we get started with this lesson, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Raha HaKodash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing his word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. To you, we say Shalom.
Shalom.
So, in this one, we're going to do a continuation of the Israelite saga. All right. And, in the previous one, we touched on pretty much the Dark Ages, the fall of Jake over there in Europe. And, but in this one, we're going to touch on the fall of Jake over here in the Americas. All right. As a matter of fact, actually, yeah, we'll get this. We'll get this first. In the New World Encyclopedia.org, I'm gonna read just the first paragraph. It's going into the fall of Granada, just to recap what we read previously in the previous lesson that we did. But it says the Battle of Granada was a siege of the city of Granada, fought over a period of months leading up to its surrender on January 2nd, 1492. Now keep that date in mind. January 2nd, 1492. All right, continuing on, it says the city was captured by the combined forces of Aragon and Castile, recently united as Spain, from the armies of the Taifa Muslim Kingdom of Granada, which um, the city of Granada was pretty much ruled by Jake at that time, by the Moors, so-called Moors, right?
If I can add too, pretty much
Hmm.
going into that, I believe the word Granada actually goes back to like a Iberian word. So it shows you that Jake was ruling because pretty much it was taking hold and still using a derivative of the Holy Tongue, the Lashwan Kodash. Halashwan Kodash.
Hmm. And the word Granada, if I'm not mistaken as well, goes to pomegranate.
Mm-hmm. And it also shows you because like a lot of times when we would pretty much name stuff, we would name it through concrete thinking. You know, when we think about
Mm.
abstract stuff, abstract thinking is kind of like that Western mindset to where you kind of line stuff up with stuff that doesn't really have anything to do with anything. But Granada actually got
Right.
its name from, I believe, it was like an area full of like pomegranates or something like that. You know.
Hmm. Con. But it says Granada's forces were led by Sultan Boabdil, which that was the Jake that was ruling at the time. But it says this relatively small campaign was of Salakia, momentous consequences, as Granada was the last outpost of Moorish rule in Spain, and its fall brought to an end 780 years of Muslim control in the Spanish Peninsula. So that's Jake was ruling here in Spain for roughly about 780 years, right? But as we know through the scriptures, Jake was ruling all of Europe, really, that whole region, majority, for roughly about a period of about 1,000 years, right? During the fall of the Roman Empire, all the way leading up to what we said in the previous video, the time of the Renaissance, which is the
Hmm.
rebirth,
Right before
right?
the like you mentioned, the Dark Ages.
Right. Hmm. So from here, we're gonna jump on to the next article
You
because,
want
huh?
which one is it?
The Wikipedia one.
All right. You want to read from the top?
No, we're gonna go to we're gonna jump down a little bit because we got to go into the topic of Christopher Columbus. Because like I said in that previous article that I read, um, we talked about that date, January 2nd, 1492, which that was the date when Granada fell, and whenever King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella ended up, taking control of Spain, right? But we're gonna jump down a little bit in this article or in the Wikipedia article. where it says Columbus and Portuguese relations.
Is it under
Huh?
is it under the first subtopic?
It's let me see. No, it's under the subtopic of rain.
Right. Okay. You said Columbus.
Hmm.
So
It says the subtopic of that one also is Columbus and Portuguese relations. So it's under rain, and then you scroll down, it says Columbus and Portuguese relations.
all right, Con, I got it. It says Columbus and Portuguese relations. Just 3 months after entering Grenada, Queen Isabella agreed to sponsor Christopher Columbus on an expedition to reach the East Indies by sailing west for a distance of 2,000 miles. According to Columbus, the crown agreed to pay a sum of money as a concession from monarch to subject.
Right.
Columbus,
So, Salakia. But just get that. Just 3 months after entering Grenada, after conquering Grenada, they agreed to sponsor Christopher Columbus on his voyage. You know, to pretty much go after Jake. You know, you had that movie 1492, right? Where you have in that movie it shows you how Christopher Columbus knew of, according to the scriptures, he knew that Jake was over here, right? And Baba Kushai, if you can get that precept starting off in Second Ezra 13 chapter.
Con. This is second Isaiah, also Ezra chapter 13, and we'll get verse 30, 38. It reads, it says, so this is second Ezra chapter 13 and verse 39. It says, whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salamander the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land. Which, if I'm not mistaken, this is going to the time in Kings, in the rulership of like it says right here, Hosea the king, whom Salamander the king of Assyria led away captive, verse 41, second Ezra 13 and 41. But they took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. And if I can add, pretty much going into this, when we think about migration and the world in general, they call the Eastern Hemisphere the old world, or the known world, because that's pretty much where civilization and life started. Life started in Jerusalem. Like, could we get that? Galatians 4 and 16.
This is the book of Galatians. Slovakia. Galatians chapter 4, verse 16, right? Galatians chapter 4 and verse 16, and it reads, am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth?
So it might be another one. Let me see. Let me get it. It says something about Jerusalem is the mother of us all. This is Galatians chapter 4 and verse 26. Salak. This is Galatians 4 and 26. It says, but Yerushalayim, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. And that's pretty much, the Garden of Eden, Hakan Shah Aidan, the Garden of Eden. You see, that was in Jerusalem, in that same area, the Fertile Crescent, going up into near the river Euphrates. All right, it's pretty much where civilization started. All right, and everybody else, like we see in the scriptures, Genesis chapter 10, chapter 11, where everybody was scattered. Peleg, Peleg. In his time, pretty much that's when everybody started to go to their respective areas, and after that, you had each different time period to where people were migrating. All right, and it's pretty much what we're seeing, migration, if you will, of Esau into Jake territory, because pursuant to the scriptures, that's what was prophesied to happen to us because we sinned against the Lord.
That's right. That's right. Our people always knew about another land. That's pretty much what when you read further down in that chapter, also means another. All it means is another land. But our people always knew about this land over here, going back to King Solomon, right? in the book of Second Kings, or is it First Kings? I believe it's First Kings.
You want me to get it or no?
Nah, that's fine. We don't gotta segue that much far off topic.
Okay.
But
I'm gonna go back.
yeah, just go back.
Okay, this is Second Ezra chapter 13. We'll get verse 42. It says that they might there keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land, and they enter into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. For the Most High then shewed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Arsaret, which in Greek, which you can hear it in the phonetic sound, is Aratzah, which is another land.
God, beautiful. That's pretty much it. That's weird. Unless you want to read more.
No, that's pretty much the point.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Hey, our people, the 10 tribes, pretty much Northern Kingdom, because they were the ones that were taken over, and they were taken into captivity in that Assyrian captivity, right? And then you had Salakia. You had the Northern Kingdom taken into the Assyrian captivity, and then you had the Southern Kingdom taken into the Babylonian captivity. But after the Assyrian captivity, those tribes, Northern Kingdom, they ended up leaving that land and coming over here to the Americas. So that was pretty much the point that we wanted to get, and that's the precepts. That's the part in the scriptures where Christopher Columbus read. When you watch that movie, 1642. Salakia, 1492. Yeah, Salakia. 1492. That's pretty much what he was talking about, right? When he mentioned Ezra's.
I got a quick one.
All right. Go ahead.
This is James chapter 2. James chapter 2 and verse 19. Could you get Yeshaya, Isaiah, the first chapter? But this is James 2 and 19. It says, "Thou believest that there is one power, thou doest well. The devils also believe and tremble." You see, and I wanted to bring this out because pretty much Christopher Columbus, he used the scriptures. He knew that he can go to the scriptures to find out that there was another land over here. While we're gonna get Isaiah, Yeshaya, the first chapter, because Jake, before America, Babylon the Great understood that the Lord was our power, but Jake was pretty much say Yasharon wax fat and kick, because Jake wouldn't even consider, and these times Jake really don't want to consider, but we was going off in those times when we had knowledge that who our power was,
That's right. When we start at verse 2? This is Isaiah 1 and 2. It says, "Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for Yahweh has spoken. I have nourished and brought up children."
Nourished and brought up. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the word nourish means to pretty much build up or make, pretty much bring up in abundance, because the Lord said He spoke to us in our prosperity. All right. Again, going back to Yashawan waxing fat. All right. When you're fat, you're abundant. You see, so the Lord speaking that to us and bringing us up. Because the Lord has always made sure that we were good as a people because we are His people. You
want me to get that word for you?
Kanye, could you go into it?
Yeah, the word there is gadal, and it means to grow, become great, or important, promote, make powerful, praise, magnify, do great things.
So pretty much the Lord increased us, but being that we was increased again, you had 2/3 that pretty much wanted to live according to their own will,
Right. That's right. It says, continuing on in Isaiah 1 and 2, it says, "And they have rebelled against me. The ox knoweth his owner." This is verse 3. "The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider."
Don't even consider. When you go into that word consider, it goes into the same word as to remember, which is zakar, all right, to even think about. So Jake wasn't even thinking about this. Jake was into, like we're going into, you had the Moorish kingdom, you had the Incas, you had the Mayans, the Aztecs. Jake was just doing whatever, going back to the Moorish kingdom, the so-called Moorish kingdom. they was delving into Islam, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
You
right.
see,
That's right.
that was pretty much the point though, because Christopher Columbus, again, he used the scriptures to figure out, like, hey, all right, it's people over here. He did his diligence. He did the research. He
Mm-hmm.
took his interpreters. You
Mm-hmm.
know, because he believed that he could find the new world, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm gonna get this precept to back you up. This is Psalm 64 and verse 6. It says, "They search out iniquities; they accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them is Salakia. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep." Just going back to the brother's point, man. Hey, they do a diligent search. Hey, Christopher
Mm-hmm.
Columbus he did his research, man. Just like you got now, all these archaeologists, doing research for Esau. These top scholars doing digging and breaking down the scriptures. This is the reason why, going back to the brother's point, they were able to take us down, and they know how Jake is. They know how that if
Mm-hmm.
Jake goes off and continues to go off, they were able to conquer us. They'd be able to uh, um, take us down, right? Just like they did. They took down the Moors.
Mm-hmm.
Come, but let's go back,
To the article.
yeah, to that article. We'll just read that second paragraph, and that'll be it. We'll
God, so
go
it
jump on
says,
to the next one.
God says Columbus's expedition departed on the 3rd of August, 1492, and arrived in the New World on the 12th of October. He
Hmm.
returned the next year and presented his findings to the monarchs, bringing natives gold under a hero's welcome.
Hey, so
Uh,
that shows you right there. He brought natives gold under a hero's welcome. So that goes back to this precept, if I may get it real quick. This is the book of Salakia. Let me get it real
Kind of,
quick.
if I could mention, pretty much
Hmm.
the scriptures call this land the land of Ayapar, or Ophir.
Hmm.
It was great gold over here.
Right.
That's why King Solomon, going back to Kings, he would send the Canaanites over here. They had the little Olmec heads because this land was known as a princely realm at one point. It was a book that I was reading about. It was called "Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee," but pretty much Gad and
Hmm.
Issachar, they was over here. They call it a princely realm. Before Esau came
That's
over
right.
here and turned us into a wilderness. It was
Hmm.
actually stuff over here. You had gold, you had animals. You know.
Hmm. Yeah. I believe. I don't know if you remember when I showed you that one little article piece where it said uh, the Aztecs called this land Aslan, which pretty much
Mm-hmm.
they named it the land of the north. But
Mm-hmm.
also it was called a paradise, a land
Yep.
of paradise, because this is what
Mm-hmm.
it was. It was a paradise before these crackers came over here and just completely jacked things up.
Right.
But let me get this precept real quick. This is Revelation 11 and verse 11. I mean verse 10. It says, "And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth." So that them gifts are talking about Jake. You know, whenever Christopher Columbus came over here, he found out that there was people here. They had the tribes here because that's really why he came over here. He brought Hebrew interpreters with him.
Mm-hmm.
So he had Hebrew interpreters with him. He knew what he came here for, right? And when he came here, the first thing he did is start enslaving. Took some Israelite slaves back over to Spain, gave them over as a gift, right? Along with gold. But let's jump back. Go ahead and continue on with that article, Baba Kusha.
Okay. All right. It says although Columbus was sponsored by the Castilian Queen, treasury accounts show no royal payments to him until 1493, after his first voyage was complete. Spain then entered a golden age of exploration and colonization, the period of the Spanish Empire in 1494 by the Treaty of Tordesillas.
Hmm.
Isabella and Ferdinand agreed to divide the earth outside of Europe, with King John II of Portugal, the Portuguese did not recognize that South America belonged to the Spanish because it was Portugal's sphere of influence, and King John II threatened to send an army to claim the land for the Portuguese.
Yeah, just going into, because you have Brazil that pretty much is pretty much property of Portugal. That's the reason why they speak Portuguese over there.
Uh,
You had the Portuguese and the Spanish. They were pretty much the first ones to come over here and start conquering. And pretty much we're going to talk about in this lesson. We're going to talk about pretty much Northern Kingdom, but the tribe of Gad, we're probably going to leave that for the next lesson, the next part of this, uh, the next addition to this topic, because the time period won't correlate with this.
I had a quick
But
one.
Con, go ahead.
This is the Hoyam Psalm chapter 37, we'll get verse 35. It says, I have seen the wicked in great power and spreading himself like a green bay tree. All right, a green bay tree is a super vast tree, it's big, and the wicked
Mm-hmm.
has increased himself. We've seen this in the time of Hellenization, all right, and also Westernization, and then we seen it. I'm not sure what this time period was called, but pretty much in 1492, all right, you had Spain, Portugal. You also had pirates and stuff like that. They was doing a lot of trade, and it was a lot of stuff going on in those in that particular time period. That's why when you said remember the year 1492, a lot of stuff was going on in that time. That's pretty much when Esau was coming up back into power to deceive.
Mm-hmm. Quickly too, man. He was coming up to the ranks super quick. Just from that that year, that pivotal year of 1492, they ended up conquering over there in Europe. They ended up coming over here in the Americas, conquering over here. They were going crazy. The Most High was allowing them to grow, right?
Yep. Keep going in the article.
Now we're gonna go ahead and go to the other article of the real legacy of Christopher Columbus.
Okay. All right.
And on this article, we're going to touch on a little bit more, but we're going to stop at a certain period. We can go ahead.
Okay. It says the real legacy of Christopher Columbus, slavery and genocide. It says the second Monday of October is Columbus Day, celebrated as a federal holiday in the U.S. since 1971. This day marks the anniversary of Christopher Columbus's 1492 landing in the Americas, the discovery of the New World for the benefit of the Spanish monarchy. Columbus Day is a day of parades, pageants, and retail shopping bargains across the nation. Schools close and government employees get the day off, but exactly who and what are being celebrated? To celebrate Columbus is to celebrate a legacy of genocide, slavery, rape, and plunder. It commemorates the violent and bloody accumulation of capital for the ruling classes of Europe and later the U.S. Columbus's voyage was financed by the Spanish monarchy. Spain was then a newly unified nation state in competition with other European powers to expand its dominion and amass great wealth. And if I can mention, pretty much that's pretty much how Esau has always played. Warring with himself, slithering his way up into power. Because back then, I believe you had Spain, you had Portugal, you had it's pretty much everybody in Europe. Going into we know that Jake was in rulership back then, but Esau pretty much slithered his way back into there. We started seeing that Edomite rulership, the Edomite hegemony.
That's right.
So it says the purpose of his expedition was to establish an alternative trade route to the east and return with riches. Gold and silver were of particular interest to Columbus. When he landed in the islands known now as the Bahamas, Columbus encountered the Arawak Indians, whose kindness and generosity he noted in his journal and letters. Columbus quickly took a group of Arawaks captive, hoping they could lead him to gold.
Now, I want to say something real quick. When it says Arawaks, that's talking about the Tainos. The Arawaks are really just a larger group, and the Tainos are a subsection of the Arawaks. Just for context.
If I can mention too, you said the Tainos, and that's actually broken Hebrew. Ta, it's a compound word, ta going into tawab, and then you got
Mm-hmm.
ayn, I, it's
Mm-hmm.
actually ayn tawab. Ayn is good people.
Mm-hmm.
I got a quick one. This is Bara'ashi, Genesis chapter 25, verse 27 says, and the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. Now I want to get this word for plain because I read a book one time and I also seen it in that article. But pretty
Mm-hmm.
much Columbus said that they won't really own nothing for real. They pretty much was
Mm-hmm.
chill. This is the word
Yeah.
for plain. It says perfect, complete. It says one who lacks nothing in physical strength, beauty, sound, wholesome. It says an ordinary, quiet sort of person. It says complete, morally innocent, having integrity, one who was
Mm-hmm.
morally and ethically pure. Now Jake was going off, you see, but it
Right.
was still a spirit to Jake to where like Jake, is chilling, and that's why I
Right.
say right here it says Columbus encountered the Arawak Indians who are Tawab Ain, good people.
Mm-hmm.
It says Columbus encountered the Arawak Indians whose kindness and generosity he noted in his journal and letters. Kindness and generosity. Jake
Mm-hmm.
ain't on the type of time that Esau is on.
Right. Right. There's a scripture that says, his words were smoother than oil, but words was in his heart,
Mm-hmm.
and that's Esau all the way. He comes in with the subtlety, comes in all smooth like, but in the back of his mind, he's plotting and scheming on how to take you down, man, how to dethrone you, how to supersede himself over you, man, right?
Mm-hmm.
How to usurp authority, and that's what he did. He
Right.
came over here to the land, he got welcomed. You know, I'm pretty sure, Jake was over here, offering him food and this and that. And what
Mm-hmm.
did he do? We just keep reading.
God says, it says, hey, going into that, if
Mm-hmm.
I can add, you said Jake was probably giving them food and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a couple articles, they probably took stuff down, but you know how Esau moves, pretty much that's what a term that's one time or era where the term Indian giver actually came about. Like they would say, hey, if you give somebody something and then take it back to me, you're an Indian giver. But
Mm-hmm.
pretty much how that came to surface, in this facet, pretty much Esau would make them peace treaties and make different deals, but pretty much he would take advantage of how we are as a people. He
Mm-hmm.
understands that you know we barter, we trade,
Mm-hmm.
good people,
Right. Charitable.
so right. So he was like, yeah, uh, um, pretty much the tribes would give him something, and then when they was waiting for something in return, they'll play it like nah, we not giving you nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't keep their end of the deal, and they try to say it was a language barrier when they understood. He bought translators, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. That's right. Hey, he did that with Gad all the time, man.
yeah,
Constantly. You can go ahead.
kind says it says hoping they could lead him to gold. He then sailed to Hispaniola, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic, where he enslaved even more Indians.
Mm-hmm. There
After
you go, man. He they welcome him with open arms, and what did he do, man? Started enslaving them. That's the first thing he did. Go ahead. Unless you got something to say.
no.
Okay,
Well,
come.
it says hoping they could lead him to gold. He then sailed to Hispaniola and Haiti, which Haiti that's I Ayatya or
Mm,
Ayatya, but pretty much it
mm,
means uh mountainous heap or mountain with me, roughly paraphrasing, because we know that
mm,
Levi lawyer is joined unto me, which
mm,
mountain with me, because Levi lawyer was the priest, you know,
mm,
and that was Haiti. It says in the Dominican Republic, which that's Simeon, Shemaiwan, it says where he
mm,
enslaved more Indians, more Jakes.
mm,
So it says after returning to Spain and reporting on the incredible wealth in the islands of the New World, the monarchs gave Columbus 17 ships and more than 1,200 men to plunder the Caribbean. His new expedition went from island to island, gathering slaves and gold with unprecedented brutality.
That's right. And once you continue reading, it's going to show you a little bit more of his brutality. You can go ahead.
Oh, it says subtopic opening the continent to slavery. It says Columbus was the first European slave trader in the Americas. He sent more slaves across the Atlantic Ocean than any individual of his time, about 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
He and his men captured and enslaved Arawak people almost as soon as they landed. Some were sent to Spain and others served Columbus on the islands. In 1496, Columbus jubilantly wrote Spain's King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella about the possibilities for ex- exploitation in the West Indies. In the name of the Holy Trinity, we can send from here all the slaves in Brazil would which could be sold.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of that's kind of how Esau moves. He tries to capitalize everything, make everything a like a market, and then
Right,
also try he
commodity.
also tries to tie in. He understands that Jake is a spiritual people. That's why it says it's no such thing as the Holy Trinity, but they try to
Mm-hmm.
bring in religion,
Mm-hmm.
in order to get Jake to submit. And that's
Right,
pretty much what they do. Judith, the fifth chapter.
right. They did all that. The whole because what's it say for Christianity or for Catholicism? They
Mm-hmm.
do all that in the name of that to justify what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. I'll
As a matter of
continue
fact,
on.
as a matter of fact, let me get this real quick.
Con.
Um, Let me get this real quick. The precept where it goes, how's it go? Hmm.
Was it going into?
These things hast thou done.
Mm. The one says, thou thoughtest
Yep,
I was
right here.
altogether okay.
Come on, this is Psalm 50 and 21. It says, these things hast thou done, and I kept silence. Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such as one as thyself, but I will reprove thee and set them in order before thine eyes. So at that time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, all these Edomites back then, they had this mindset of manifest destiny, that the Most High was with them, that the Most High is behind their enterprise, right? But right here, it clearly tell you, hey, soon, as we're seeing right now, they're being reproved, man. All this glory and that they receive from their conquests and their colonialism and their great exploits, now they're being reproved by it. Now they're seeing that it's becoming what's that scripture where it says um let me see, pretty much how their shameful glory, now all the glory is being turned to shame. Let me
Yeah,
get
let me
that
get
real
that.
quick. Oh yeah, Con, you can get that. I want
This
to get
is
this other one.
Habakkuk. This is Habakkuk Salah. Habakkuk chapter 2. Let's get verse 16. It says, I'm reading verse 15. It says, woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and maketh him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. Because that's pretty much what Esau does. He understands that
Mm-hmm.
sinners are kryptonite. So he'll
Mm-hmm.
pretty much set Jacob. That's why scriptures say he communes and lay snares privily.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much setting up traps. So it says, "Thou art filled with shame for glory; drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the
Mm-hmm.
Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory."
That's right. And now we're seeing that shame come upon them. That's the reason why this truth is very that's the reason why this truth is hurting them. That's the reason why they don't like. You got this thing called what's it called, this new thing, um critical race theory,
Mm-hmm.
right? You got this new thing called critical race theory that's pretty much exposing Esau for all the shit that he's doing, and he's not liking it. You saw a couple years back how they've been taking down statues. They took down, what's his name, Teddy Roosevelt off that high horse. All these statues being taken down, but back then they were holding these statues in high regard.
Mm-hmm.
These were their heroes. Christopher Columbus. Now people ain't celebrating that shit no more. Why? Because it's being found out this man was a damn devil.
All right, I got I want to go into the word critical race theory. Well, this is
Con.
the word for critical. The etymology, it says censorers, inclined to find fault. going into the shameful spewing. It says critic. Because right now Esau is being found out. He's being criticized. Baba Kushal, could you get Jeremiah 49, I believe it's verse 20. So it says, essential for determining originally in medicine, meaning of the nature of a crisis. This is a crisis for Esau. He the scriptures say, because he got that same spirit as Cain, Quayan. He got that same spirit. So pretty much he's a fugitive, a vagabond. So he's in Salah. It says of the nature of a crisis, because he on the run. It says in the condition of extreme doubt or danger, he's in danger. It says is from 1660s, involving judgment as to the truth or merit of something. It says of having the knowledge, ability, or discernment to pass judgment, meaning to pertaining to criticism. He's being criticized in this earth, man. Nobody wants anything to do with Esau. Even the only reason these nations are still playing ball with Esau, so to speak, is because he has been placed there as a placeholder. Isaiah 10:5. He's the one in rulership right now.
Right. I got that for you. Jeremiah 49:20. Right.
Okay.
This is it says, therefore hear the counsel of Yahweh that he had taken against Edom, and his purposes that he had proposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them.
It might be verse 10. Can you read verse 10?
Khan, I got you. This is Jeremiah 49 and verse 10. It says, but I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself.
He can't hide himself. That's why I said right here, it says censorous. That's why he got to censor everything. He been censoring everything, taking stuff off the internet, deleting videos. It says involving judgment. It says extreme doubt or danger. He's in danger. His Isaiah 47:1. It says, come down and sit in the dust, because he being exposed. So he wants to maintain that power, but he can't because he's being exposed. I'm gonna finish the definition out. It says criticality. It says in the nuclear sense, critically, accurately, in a critical situation. This is a critical situation for Esau Edom,
That's right. Hey, and more and more, day by day, man, we're seeing this man exposed even more. You see what's happening with the whole shit over there in the Holy Land. We're seeing everything is going to be found out at the end of the day. Everybody's going to find out this man's a devil, and all we're doing is fanning that flame. But here's another precept I wanted to get out. This is Zechariah 11 and verse 5. Going into our pretty much our oppressors. This is Zechariah 11 and 5. It says, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty, and they that sell them say, blessed be Yahweh, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. And that's exactly what Esau says. Whenever they took down Jake over there, the Taínos, all the way from all the tribes, man, all the tribes, right? Esau and all the heathen are like, they blessed be the Lord, because I am rich, right? For selling Jake as a commodity and continuing to hold Jake in slavery, man. But let's go back to the article.
Okay. Back to the article. It says, he and his
okay, Slaki, go ahead.
It says he and his men captured. So it says in Hispaniola, Columbus and the Spanish set up a system that made every Indian over the age of 14 responsible for gathering a certain amount of gold each month. They received copper tokens to hang around their necks if they succeeded. If an Indian was caught without a token, the Spanish cut off their hands and let them bleed to death.
There you go, man. That's one form of torture that he would do to the. It was 14 and up. So imagine 14-year-old kids getting their arms cut off, man. This man will do this shit. And let me get this real quick. This is James 2 and 13. It says, for he shall have judgment without mercy, that has showed no mercy, and mercy rejoices against judgment, man. This man has no mercy. He never had mercy against Jake. That perpetual hatred that he had toward Jake was brewing inside him, man. He showed no mercy unto Jake. He viewed Jake as a savage, and those are terms that he would always put upon Jake, as a savage, right? A beast, right? calling us a three-fifths of a human. In order to justify him doing committing all these atrocities unto us.
I got a precept.
Khan, go ahead.
This is Yahazak Allah, also Ezekiel chapter 35 and verse 5. It says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Yasha Allah by the force of the sword. You go back to the time of Christopher Columbus, he said he couldn't put his sword down. It says, in the time of their calamity and the time that their iniquity had an end. All right, even if we look at these times right now, Esau is still perpetually hating on us.
Exactly.
We can see that perpetual hatred in how their system is set up. Let me get this word for perpetual. It says long duration. It says everlasting of ancient. So let's go back, to the ancient world. It's been forever. All right, let me go into this word for hatred. All right, it says ayabad. It says enmity, hostility. They always been hostile with us,
Right.
Yeah, and even Jake today, 2/3, they niggas, they pretty much going off, you see, but it'll be to where Esau is showing them hatred when they're not even coming in that type of spirit, in some cases,
Hey, you just have that shit that happened recently over there in Mississippi, with the whole white chair incident, right? Hey, it's just a natural rivalry that Jake and Esau got, man. And it really be Esau though, Here it is, Jake really hasn't done anything to Esau, and yet Esau just wants to, fuck Jake up, man. Fuck with Jake. Here it is, Esau has done so much atrocities and committed so much crimes against our people, and yet Jake is still, don't got that fiery, that revengeful spirit to try to take down Esau. Like it says in the scriptures, Judah's a lion's whelp, who shall rouse him up? And that goes for all the tribes, man. All of Jake is still, like a old lion, man, just not really, don't got that fiery spirit in him.
Right, cause Jake pretty much, it'll take an event for Jake to be roused up, and then after it's done, it's like, all right,
yeah,
they go back to their regular lives, back to their job.
Right. Hey, I got another one to back you up. This is Amos 1:11. It says, thus said Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. You can speak on that, bro.
Esau pretty much, kept wrath forever. Again, going into their system. If you look at like Rikers Island, for example, all right, like 80% of their population hasn't even, been, the trial. They haven't been found guilty. So pretty much they keep people in there for months, years at a time, and pretty much a lot of those people are actually innocent, but pretty much this system is set up to where if you get caught up in that, in the justice system, there's no turning back, and you can be completely innocent. But he has set up the system, specifically the judicial system, in that fashion. And then also, like, if you're trying to get a job, if you're trying to get, good credit, he pretty much has made this place a prison, for his perpetual hatred for Jake,
For real. So we can jump back onto that article.
Says, such murder and torture occurred frequently because the Spanish wildly overestimated how much gold existed on the island. Gathering enough gold to satisfy the Spanish conquerors was an impossible task. Let me get this real fast, because I mean, kind of snickering a little bit, because this describes Esau to a T. This is Habakkuk chapter 2. We'll get verse 5. It says, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. He's always into other people's affairs. So it says, who enlarges his desire as hell, and is as deaf and cannot be satisfied. Going back to the article, what the article just read, I'm gonna go back to it and read it. It says, gathering enough gold to satisfy the Spanish conquerors was an impossible task. It can't be satisfied. I'm gonna finish it out. It says, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. And we see that in America, Babylon the Great, but then also in this example, where it was talking
Mm-hmm.
about he went here, he went there. He had like five, just pretty much
Mm-hmm.
heaping unto him himself people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But continuing on, it says when it became clear there was no more gold to take, the Spanish started a form of plantation slavery known as Ecomendia system.
Encomienda.
Okay, Echo, yeah, system. This system thrived by working Indian slaves to death on large, privately owned estates. Indian slave labor was later used in gold and silver mines.
Mm-hmm.
It says sexual slavery was also widespread among the Spanish settlers in 1500. Columbus wrote 100 Castellanos are as easily obtained for a woman as a farm, and it is very general. And there are plenty of dealers who go about looking for girls. Those from 9 to 10 are now in demand.
Hey, so
What?
there you go, man. Hey, Christopher Columbus was a vile man, man. He did sex trafficking. He did slavery for hey, and the way he did it is through pure violence, man. Like the scripture says, the violent take it by force. Everything this man has taken was all through the force of the sword, man.
Mm-hmm.
Everything by force. So hey, you got here, clear examples of him, this man just being a complete devil, man. Putting 14-year-olds to work in mines. If they don't bring a certain amount of they don't reach the quota of however much gold they bring out, boom, your
Mm-hmm.
hands getting chopped off, right? Uh, 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 Selling uh, women's and boys and girls as sex slaves, man. They don't mention it here, but hey, I've seen several articles where it mentions that
I
it
got a
wasn't just
precept.
boys, it wasn't just girls, it was boys too. So, like, go ahead.
Just back you up. This is Yahweh Allah, Joel chapter 3 and verse 3. It says,
Hmm.
and they have cast lots for my people and given a boy for an harlot and sold a girl for wine that they may drink. All right, pretty much. He was saying, 9, 10-year-old girls, it was like a commodity. And he said, or pretty much like you mentioned, there was other articles saying that it was, was into little boys,
Hmm.
which that's off, but pretty much it's going to the point. Those, they were using um, those of our nation as sex slaves that article went into.
That's right.
Continuing on, it says Bartolome de las Casas, a Spanish priest sympathetic to the plight of Indians, described the terrible violence against them. The Spanish rolled the backs of the Indians as if they were in a hurry, and they thought nothing of knifing Indians by tens and twenties and cutting of cutting slices of them to test the sharpness of their blades.
Bro, look at that shit, man. Yo, this is just ridiculous, man. They thought nothing of knifing Indians by tens and twenties, so they were just slicing up Jake for fun, man. Like it says right there, to test the sharpness of their blades. Yo, what kind of shit is this, man? This is the reason why in the scriptures when it talks about us, how we're going to rule, and we're going to rule them with a rod of iron, that we're
Mm-hmm.
going to be, judging them, bashing them in the heads, dashing the little ones against the stones. It's all
Mm-hmm.
justified. It's all going to be
Yep.
justified, man. The anger that the Most High is going to put in us, that full hatred that He's going to put in us to do this to Esau, is we don't have that now because we don't have that in our minds. We haven't seen everything to the extent that Esau has gone to throughout history. But once the Most High puts this anger in our hearts, man, hey, we're going to really put in the work on Esau, man. We're going to really bring in that justice. Everything he did unto us is, hey, this man is going to receive double
Mm-hmm. And righteousness.
in righteousness. Khan.
It says, and they got a saying in the world too, like, or in a roundabout way, pretty much, or the scriptures go into it, more specifically. But if somebody do you bad, treat
Hmm.
it, kill them with kindness. That's what it is. Kill them with
Mm.
kindness, which it doesn't necessarily. The world uses it kind of like, somebody smack you in your face, just walk off, like, but like, nah,
Right,
you
right.
know.
Turn the other cheek, that type of shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep going. It says when the Arawaks tried to escape enslavement, they were hunted and killed. The Spanish sent hunting dogs to rip them apart. When the Arawaks tried to organize armed uprisings, they were crushed by the settlers' advanced weaponry. Arawaks taken prisoner in battle were hanged or burned alive. Many turned to suicide out of misery and desperation. I got a
Now there's that
precept.
one part. Oh, so like, you go ahead.
You was about to talk about the precept where it says when they tried to escape in the crossway.
No, no, you go ahead and bring that out, and then
Oh yeah,
I'll get mine out.
this is Ibadiah Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 14. Verse 13 it says, "Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity, yet thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress." And that's pretty much what they did. Going back to this, it says, when the Arawaks tried to organize armed uprisings, when the Arawaks tried to escape enslavement, they were hunted and killed. So pretty much that was Esau. That happened in the time of the Babylonians, you see, but this can be applied to that
Hmm.
time as well. You know,
That's right.
to where Jake was pretty much trying to escape, but Esau, slaughtered him.
Hmm. I just want to touch on that one point where it says that they had advanced weaponry, and that all goes back to Esau's blessing, right? That all goes back to him having the blessing of the sword. You know, there was this one article that I read even before this, going into how the Tainos, they never seen a sword, especially like that, like a steel sword, a
Mm-hmm.
broadsword. They never seen nothing like that. So there was an article where it said that one of them went and grabbed the sword and he cut himself by grabbing it. So that's showing you that, hey, Jake didn't know, especially here in this side of the world, they didn't know about that type of they didn't have that type of weaponry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Esau came with all his weaponry, and he knew what he came here for, man. He came here to conquer. But I wanted to get this real quick. This is Genesis 27 and verse 39, going into the Esau's blessing. It says, "And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck." So just going back to that point, uh, Esau came with his advanced weaponry, and that's how he was able to, conquer Jake.
Mm-hmm. Okay, keep going. It
Hmm.
says, the diseases brought by the colonizers rapidly fell the Indians uh, throughout the Americas. Millions died from smallpox, influenza, viral hepatitis, and other illnesses.
Hmm.
European rodents and livestock wreaked havoc on the ecosystem of the Americas, which sustained the native population.
So there you got another one, another point. The same thing that happened uh, over there in Europe with the bubonic plague, man. Pestilences starting to cleave onto Jake, starting destroying them, wiping them out, which is another way that Esau was able to come into power, especially over there in Europe and even over here in the Americas. Because when you read a little bit more down, uh, that area of pretty much all of America was heavily populated. But it was
Mm-hmm.
because of this plague that the Most High pretty much sent upon us that all these things, many deaths of Jake started happening, reduced numbers, armies, the Israelite, Jake armies started to dwindle, and Esau's numbers started to rise because they started importing more and more. These Spaniards started to come in with their advanced weaponry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and read the next paragraph. It's going to go into that.
Okay. Says a brutal legacy. Columbus and his followers massacred an entire people. Some estimate that pre-Columbian population on the island of Hispaniola was as high as 8 million. By
Hmm.
1516, the Indian population dropped to 12,000. Only
Mm.
200 remained by 1542. Not one Arawak Indian was left on the island by 1555.
There you go, man. Jake was completely decimated. Man, Jake was as high as 8 million, dropped down to 12,000 to 200. Now to the point where there was none. And now you got now in that island, of Hispaniola, which is now known as Haiti. Now you got Levi right there living, man. Really, really, that's all spiritual. As a brother mentioned, pretty much meaning mountain join unto me, right? That's what
Mm-hmm.
Haiti means. Ayiti,
Con. I Ayathia.
Ayayathia, Khan.
Mhm. But I had a precept because it said it was none left. The Arawaks were the that was Tainos, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Well, the Lord has always preserved the remnant, So it said it
Yeah.
was none left, but the Lord, preserved. I believe it was. You can correct me if I'm wrong,
Hmm.
but I believe it was. You had on the island of like Puerto Rico. You had which Puerto Rico goes into Parayam Ephraim, and then
Right.
also the Dominican Republic,
Hmm.
DR, Shemaiwan, Simeon.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I believe it's a scripture that goes into pretty much their abode in strength, roughly paraphrasing, talking
Hmm.
about Ephraim. You see, but even with Simeon and
Hmm.
Haiti, it's always been a remnant that the Lord kept. Even when Reuben Ra'aban, pretty much was
Right.
in the time of the so-called Seminole Wars. The Lord
Hmm.
preserved about 200 of them.
That's
When
right.
those wars was going on.
That's right. Because you also had, like I said, you also had as we were going into, you had Columbus ship off a lot of Tainos over to Spain.
Mm-hmm.
You had some that ran away, that escaped, right? So all this thing was happening. So of course the Most High preserved his people. But out of 8 million, bro, a lot of them died.
Mm-hmm.
Most High, hey, had this man do a number on Jake, man.
Con. I'm gonna
You
continue
continue on.
on.
Hmm.
Con. It says the atrocities committed by Columbus and his men were no means isolated occurrences. Columbus set the model for other Europeans who sought to dominate the New World. The same method of terrifying, enslaving, and slaughtering Indians was employed by all explorers portrayed as heroes in U.S. history books.
Going back to what we were talking about, that shameful glory.
Mm-hmm.
What once was glory now is becoming a shame unto him. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. In 1519, Spanish explorer Hernan Cortez and his fellow villagers waged a scorched earth campaign against the Aztec Empire, overcoming fierce resistance and looting everything they could find. Francisco Pizarro carried out a similar extermination against the Inca Empire in Peru.
Hey, that's pretty much it. We can stop there, and we can go ahead and get some precepts, some more precepts, just to add it to this. But these Hernan Cortez and Francisco Pizarro, they followed the same example that Columbus set, man. Conquer, destroy and conquer. And that's exactly what they did. They destroyed and they conquered. When you go into the history of Hernan Cortez, he destroyed and conquered the Aztec Empire, man. He completely decimated it to the point where the Aztec Empire, when you look back at it, you look back at it, they look at it as like a lost civilization. That's how
Mm-hmm.
badly he destroyed the Aztecs. Francisco Pizarro the same way. When he took over the Incas, now when you look back in history, they look at it as a lost civilization because it was completely destroyed, man. But let's
That's why, like when you talk about when you talk about like history,
mhm,
Esau like they got this, they got that, but it's kind of
mhm,
like some parts is unknown, and it's unknown for a reason. He hid those parts of the story. That's why it's called his story.
right.
Like when you go back to Peru, when you go back to like they had like they understood that it was gold over here. That's why when we
Mhm,
look at the movies back in them times, pretty much it's like I can't remember what it's called, but it had like a gold city somewhere like South America, something like that.
mhm,
Pretty
mhm.
much those parts of history is hidden, and that's for a reason to pretty much hide this man's wickedness.
You talking about the land of Z,
The I
the
can't
lost
remember.
city of Z?
Yeah, it's the story how the stories go like the lost golden city or
Right.
how they
Yep.
had like how the Aztecs and I think the Incas they would have the cities like paved with gold almost
Right.
like
Right.
in Southern America. We
Yeah.
always hear about those stories.
Right. There was another one called El Dorado.
Yeah.
It's
That's what
on
it
there.
is. That's what it is. Yeah.
Kind of like stories like that. And that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much what Esau was going after, man. Just nothing but gold, man.
Yep.
Just going to loot and plunder. But I want to get this precept. Baba Kashai, if you can get it for me. This is Deuteronomy 28. and we can start at verse 49 down to
God,
50.
this is the Barium Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 49. It says, I'm gonna start from verse 48. It says, Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
Hey, and that's exactly what we're living in. We're living in now, man. In want of all things, everything we receive, all the resources is owned by Esau. So everything that we get is from Esau. Our food, our water, our shelter, our clothes, everything, right? And going back to that yoke of iron till he have destroyed us, hey, he has completely destroyed our nation. The book of Psalms, the 83rd chapter goes into that, how he would take away the name of Israel from remembrance. This is exactly what he did. He destroyed our minds, first and foremost. He destroyed our bodies, but also our minds. He took away the name of Israel. He took the name of Yahweh, Yahweh Shah. He took away everything, man, and gave us what? Black, Hispanic, Native American, right? Go ahead.
Verse 49, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
Hey, and that's exactly what happened unto Jake, the Tainos, the Aztecs, the Incas, a nation far off, as swift as an eagle flies, man. When you look at the article, Christopher Columbus came here in America in a time span of 2 months. Quickly, this man has superior ships, superior weaponry. This man has superior navigation skills. He was able to cross from Spain to all the way to the what's known now known as Haiti in the span of 2 months. But going back to the eagle, hey, ain't no coincidence that the scriptures use the eagle, man. That's a symbol. What did they got? What did they use in Spain? The eagle. In Portugal, the eagle. In Rome, the eagle. America, the eagle. Everything in Britain, I believe they use the eagle as well. So everywhere that Esau is, he always upholds that eagle, man.
Can I get a quick point?
Yeah, go ahead.
Slop.
You good?
Just for the slow bellies, Jake, Jay like to be simple sometimes. This is the Barium Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 36, because it mentions, sometimes you have those that are simple. They'll say, well, I'm gonna read it. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 36. It says, the Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone, going into Islam and Christianity. But it says a nation that you didn't know. Going back to when we was back in the Holy Land, of course, we knew that Esau. We knew of Esau. You see, but when I want to go into this word for no. So it says it's a lot. It says Yadai. It says to distinguish. It says to know by experience. It says it's a lot. It says known acquaintance. You see, so at that particular time, we wasn't acquainted. It says figuratively, literally, euphemistically, and inferentially. All right, so pretty much figuratively, we wasn't acquainted with them in that particular moment. You see, due to prophecy, because at that time, we was all in our specific areas, like we're going into. You had, the so-called Moors, in the Iberian Peninsula, Northern Africa. You had Taino, Tawab, good people. They was down in the Caribbean, the Americas. You see, so when Esau started his conquest, that's pretty much where it goes into to know Yadai, a nation that thou hasn't known, you're not acquainted with at that particular moment due to prophecy.
Right. Gone. We continue on in that Deuteronomy 28, read verse 50.
Deuteronomy 28 and verse 50. It says, a nation of fierce countenance, which
Mhm.
shall not regard the person of the old, nor shew favor to the young.
Hey, and we saw examples of that, man. This man showed no favor to the young, showed no favor to the old. You know, he carried away, he carried out what he deemed to be a judgment to everybody equally, man. Again, there were several articles I read before coming to this article that we just read of how Esau would hang old, young, women, men, children. You know, again, he would rip open or hang a woman upside down, rip her belly open, take the baby out and crush it. Man, there's so many things this man did, man.
Feed them to
He had
alligators.
you feed him to alligators, you know, so many things, man. This man had no mercy. But let me get this real quick, just to back that up. It's Habakkuk 1:6. It says, "For lo, I raise up the Chaldeans," which the Chaldeans going into this modern day Chaldeans, which is the Edomites, the Americans, right? Or yeah, Edomites, right? It says, "For lo, I raise up the Chaldeans, that bitter and nasty and hasty nation, which shall march through the breadth of the land to possess the dwelling places that are not theirs." And isn't that what they did? They came over here and took over control the Americas, all the way from Canada all the way down to damn Chile, man. But it says, verse 7, it says, "They are terrible and dreadful. Their judgment and their dignity shall proceed of themselves. Their horses are swifter than the leopards, and are more fierce than evening wolves. And their horsemen shall spread themselves, and their horsemen shall come from far. They shall fly as eagle." So like it, they shall fly as the eagle that hasteth to eat. Hey, that's a good picture to paint for Esau, man. But it says, verse 9, it says, "They shall come all for violence, their face shall sup up as the east wind, and they shall gather the captivity as the sand." Baba Kushak, can you get this in the NLT?
And if I can mention too, it also shows you, because you got your guys and slow bellies, vocab that say, hey, well, it's no more Edomites, all right, but you can always see, you can read a person's spirit, and the military, they got something called QRF, quick reaction force. So pretty much going back to where it says verse 7 and verse 8, it says the horses also are swifter than the leopards. All right, it's also going to be is likened to Alexander the Greek, when he went conquering. It says, "And more fierce than the evening wolves, and their horsemen shall spread themselves, and their horsemen shall come from far. They shall fly as the eagle that hasteth to eat." Going back to the synonym, or not synonym, acronym, that I brought out, quick reaction forces. Pretty much to where they willing to deploy people within like 24 hours, already overseas. Super fast. That's the nature of Esau. Going back to swift as a leopard. Eagle hasten to eat. You look on the quarter, it got the same. It has the same emblem as back in Rome. The same bird, the same nation.
Yeah, Esau takes advantage of every opportunity, man. It's quick. He really takes that. The early bird takes the worm seriously, man.
Yep. Let me get that.
Come on.
This is Habakkuk chapter 1. You said verse 8.
Yeah, read verse 8 through 9 in the NLT, Baba Shah.
Okay. This is Habakkuk chapter 1 and verse 8 in the NLT. It says, "Their horses are swifter than cheetahs and fiercer than wolves at dusk. Their charioteers charge from far away. Like eagles, they swoop down to devour their prey." And if I can mention, I believe eagles can fly like 200 miles an hour, So it says, on they come, all bent on violence. Their hordes advance like a desert wind, sweeping captives ahead of them like sand.
And that's exactly what they did, man. Hey, the first thing they came up with, man, was to bring violence and to enslave Jake. They swept up captives like sand. Easily just swooping Jake up. Boom, boom. Get over here. Get over here.
Mm-hmm.
You can continue on to verse 11. You can read it in the NOT.
Okay. Habakkuk 1 and 11, verse 10. It says, they scoff at kings and princes and scorn all their fortresses. They simply pile ramps of earth against their walls and capture them. They
Hey,
say,
and that's exactly what they did in Jerusalem. I mean, in the Battle of Masada.
mm-hmm,
Masada, I believe, right? In 70 AD. You had the was it Sakari? They were
mm-hmm,
in their fortress up there in the mountain. And what did
mm-hmm,
Rome do? They ended up piling up a pile of earth, and they ended up being able to climb over them, climb to the top of the mountain, pretty much.
mm-hmm.
Go
Verse
ahead.
11. They sweep past like the wind and are gone, but they are deeply guilty, for their own strength is their God.
Their own strength is a god, man. They live by the sword. You know, and it's the same mindset that America has right now. Their sword is their power, man. Their sword is their god. They
Mm-hmm.
feel like they can do anything by the way of the sword. And now you got what, the atomic weapons, the nuclear weapons. They feel like they can be able to control and have dominance over the earth because of their weaponry. Uh, Baba Kashad, can you go to Deuteronomy 28 and start at verse 21? Just pretty much
Kind of.
going into Jake.
Said 21.
Yeah.
This is Deuteronomy 28 and verse 21. It says, the Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee until he have consumed thee from off the land whither thou goest to possess it.
And that happened to Jake. Pestilence clave unto Jake, as that latter part that we read. Jake started catching diseases, smallpox, all kinds of things. You had salmonella, all kinds of diseases that Jake was getting, based on the pretty much of their transgressions of the Lord. Man, this is all curses. In the book of Deuteronomy, when you read the 15th chapter, I mean, so like in book of Deuteronomy, you read the 15th verse of this chapter. It
Mm-hmm.
talks about if we go off from following the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, that all these curses will cleave unto us. So in consequence of us going off, all these things happen unto us. Go ahead.
Verse 22. The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish.
Mm-hmm. This is again going back to the pestilences, man. Inflammation, extreme burning,
Mm-hmm.
blasting, all that happens to Jake. You had we read earlier, um, um, in that last article that we read,
Mm-hmm.
how our crops, Jake's crops and everything, they weren't growing because of all the rodents and all the shit that these damn Edomites brought over here. It destroyed the ecosystem. So Jake, all the blasting and the mildew, all that happened to our crops as well. Jake's food and resources were pretty much diminished based off Esau's occupation of that land. But I'll continue on. This is Deuteronomy 28 and verse 23. It says, and thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. Yeah, so pretty much Jake is going to be as that saying, a rock in a hard place, right? Jake is there's nowhere to go. Everywhere you go, you're going to be in trouble. You're always going to find trouble because why? You're going against the Lord, man. Jake was going off, worshiping the sun, the moon, worshiping the stars, worshiping animals. Jake was into all kinds of idolatry, man, going completely off.
Can I add to that?
Khan, go ahead.
I'm running back. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 23. It says, and thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. Now I want to get this word for brass. So it says, it says, Nachashath, all right, which it means, it says fetters. It says fetters of brass, figuratively. All right, I'm gonna go back, and it says the earth that is beneath thee shall be iron. And it says barazal, all right, but what's made with iron? going into the shackles.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much captivity. So I want to get the
Mm-hmm.
word for iron. It says barazal. It says harshness, strength, oppression. Pretty much like you was going into a rock in the
Mm-hmm.
hard place. It was pretty much going to
Mm-hmm.
be a extreme captivity. All right,
Right.
keep
Con,
going.
con. Yeah, yeah, you can read 24. Go all the way down to 32.
Con. This is the Barium Deuteronomy 28 and 24. It says, "The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven shall it come down upon thee until thou be destroyed. The Lord shall
Mm-hmm.
cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all kingdoms of the earth."
And that's exactly what happened, man. You know,
Mhm.
here it is. You know, you had Esau coming in with the soldiers, the cavalry. You know, you had certain battles. You know, Jake will fight and rise up against Esau and fight. But you know, there were certain battles that Jake lost, and they would just scatter, man. They would run away because the Lord wasn't with them. Go ahead.
Verse 26. "And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away.
Hmm. So
The
much
Lord
death.
will
Go
the
ahead.
Lord the Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou canst not be healed."
Hmm.
And emerods going back to hemorrhoids.
Hmm.
Verse 28. "The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart." In which, when
Hmm.
you go into this, it says, "The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart," pretty much going to how, Jake was without the truth, pretty much going
Right.
into that madness, because we was made to serve the Lord. We was made after the fashions of the Lord, with the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. So we had the knowledge of the Lord's name and the knowledge of the scriptures, pretty much we were made a certain way, but being that we sinned, we went off and we sinned against the Lord, the Lord gave us, that madness, the blindness, not being able
Hmm.
to see, like how the scriptures say, where there is no vision, the people perish. Then actual blindness as well, but applying it to the blindness
Spiritual
spiritually.
sense.
Yep.
Hmm.
It says an astonishment of heart. You know,
Hmm.
Verse 29. "And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee.
Hmm.
Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein." And we saw that with 12 Years a Slave. Solomon
Exactly.
Northrop, he built that house, and pretty much he couldn't live in it. He that was in that particular time. He was working for Esau.
Hmm.
He was enslaved. So it says, "And thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof."
Hmm. That's exactly what happened to Jake. You know, you had Jake, had wives, had his houses or his tents, right? But Esau came and took all that over, man. The vineyards, his crops and everything. Esau came and ate all that shit up, you know?
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Verse 31. It says, "Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them.
Hmm.
Thy sons and daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fill with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand." And which we saw that in history, when
Hmm.
they would have the parents at a particular plantation, they ship off the children somewhere else. And then also this can be figuratively tied to these school systems, because they're pretty much training the children up to think in a Edomite fashion, you know.
Right. Hmm. Exactly. You know, so they ultimately don't become your children. You know, they're
Mhm.
trained up in the ways of Esau, man. But yeah, that going back to them curses, man. All these curses fell upon Jake, and there's more too. But just
Mhm.
wanted to just get the few ones that we read about in the articles. You know. You had the sons, the daughters being sold off as sex slaves, being sold off as just slaves in general, to work in
Mm-hmm.
mines. Jake wasn't able to enjoy, a full life in that time, man. Jake was put to
Mm-hmm.
work to death. That was that one, what it says, encomienda, uh, um, pretty much a type of slavery where you work him to death. That was a type of rough work that Jake was put through, man.
Mm-hmm. They
And it
would
wasn't just Slaki. Go
my
ahead,
bad.
Slaki.
I was about to say they would pretty much they'll work Jake to death. It was a movie. I can't remember. I think it was called it was like a guy. He was lawyer. He was a Levi, and he was from Haiti, and pretty much he was shipped over here. They made him fight in the Civil War, but he was on like a plantation, and those
Mm-hmm.
that couldn't continue to work, they pretty much throw into this like ditch or something. I think it was called
Mm-hmm.
Armistead or something like that.
Amistad.
Yeah, Armistead. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I believe they even show you that in that movie. I don't think I mean, it's not historically accurate, but that movie, Django.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, whenever they were going to ship him off to pretty much to work for the railroad, I believe, just crushing rocks or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
They just gonna work him to death. Even
Yep.
even that movie explains it. You won't make big rocks into little rocks all the way until you die, and that's it.
But they say art imitates life. So that's a form of
Mm,
art. It's a movie. You see, it was made to
right.
be funny, but it's true. That's why in
Yeah.
comedy, they still telling jokes, but it's true. So I mean, it's accurate. It
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All those events happened in a point in time. But
Mm-hmm.
I was just saying, as far as like Django and him over here killing, Edomites,
Kanye.
that character, But yeah, uh, Baba Kushad, can you get Judith chapter 5 and start at verse 17? And we can close it off with that, unless you have something else.
I have none. This is Yahweh Dayaf, also Judith chapter 5 and verse 17. Read down to 21.
Yeah, you can read down 21.
This is Judith 5 and 17. It says, "And whilst they sinned not before their power, they prospered, because the Most High that hated iniquity was with them.
Mm-hmm.
But when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles very sore, and were led captives into a land that was not theirs. And the temple of their power was cast to the ground, and their cities were taken by the enemies."
All right, so it says, while we sin not against the Most High, we prospered, man. Again, going back to what we said in the beginning, Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked.
Mm-hmm.
When Jake was, in the right mind, serving the Lord, they were given all these good things. But once they started to, wax fat, once it started to get comfortable, it started going off. Then that's when these curses started coming upon us, man. Captivity, going into battle and then being destroyed by our enemies. Our temples, our lands, our cities were taken away, man. Everything was taken by our enemies. Right? Go ahead.
Verse 19. "But now are they returned to their power, and are come up from the places where were scattered, and have possessed Jerusalem, Jerusalem, where their sanctuary is, and are seated in the hill country, for it was desolate. Now therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error against this people, and they sin against their power, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them.
Mm-hmm.
But if there be no iniquity in their nation, let my Lord now pass by, lest their Lord defend them, and their power before them, and we
Mm-hmm.
become a reproach before all the world."
Right. And you already know these Edomites read this. You know that motherfucker Christopher Columbus read this. Jake was going off. Jake came over here to spy out the land, seeing what Jake was doing, seeing Jake was going off. So hey, what did they do? Start conquering Jake because they knew they were able to. So just, it's all coming to a close. Hey, as long as we continue to go off, or as long as Jake continues to go off, hey, y'all gonna continue to be destroyed. The only way to receive that healing, as the scripture says in Hosea 6:1, is to come back to the Lord. right? That's pretty much it, man. That's all I had.
Con.
That's all I had.
Wow.
Con. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and close it out. We pray this lesson was edifying. We're gonna go ahead and close it out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Raha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing his word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. To you we say Shalom.
Shalom.
Kwam Yasha Allah and a
Kwam Yasha.
Bible ball.
Shalom. Shalom.
Shalom.